it was in that moment that I realized I wasn't serving my client, because I'd have to ask questions again. I knew that later I would say, now remind me again, because I wasn't in front of them. I wasn't taking notes. And I wasn't serving myself because I was freaking out that I wasn't with my family. Oh my gosh, I got to get through this phone call, but I have to be polite. And so all this angst was happening there. And then I definitely was not serving my family.
We are back for another incredible episode of the Relaunch Podcast. And what makes it so good? The people that come on that share their stories. And this lady that I'm about to bring on is really someone near and dear to my heart. I have had an opportunity to get to know her over the last year. She is nothing less than remarkable. And what she's going to share with us today, not just the relaunch journey, but she is also going to share so many of the things, the big tips, takeaways that we all need. And let's dive right in. Today, I am being joined by Lady Jen Du Plessis. She is the leading authority in building world-class teams. She's got 4 decades behind her in financial services and over 1 billion in mortgage loans that she's helped fund. Lady Jen helps corporations and entrepreneurs scale from that 6-figure to 7 figures. And here's what I love, and beyond. Through her masterminds and mentorships, Jen enhances leadership skills and builds powerful teams for multiple results. She's a multiple Amazon #1 best-selling author. I think there's 4. Are there 4 books out right now, Jen?
4 of my own, and then
Yep.
I'm part of 22.
Yeah, okay. I knew there was something crazy there. She
Yeah.
actually is the host of 2 top-ranking podcasts and the TV show Tell Me I Can't, reaching 350 million homes monthly. Lady Jen's innovative technique create powerful teams, align priorities, and rapidly scale systems. She's been featured everywhere, including LA Weekly, Success, just to name a few. Been on covers, done it all. She's been on stages. This is what I love. She's been on stages with Tony Robbins, Les Brown, Shannon Lecter, and that is just to name a few. She actually has mentors that she's going to talk about as well, that she has had so much incredible just mentorships through it, and why she believes that everyone needs a mentor. But outside of work, this is what I love. Remember, we are not just the business. Jen enjoys she has a 21-acre farmette in Northern Virginia that she lives with her husband, Brian, and she's got oodles of grandchildren now. So she's, really trying to live that life of everything. She's dedicated to so many of her philanthropies, and she's ready to tune in to the Relaunch Podcast today. And let's let Lady Jen guide us to live above and beyond your business. Lady Jen, thank you so much for being here. And it lights me up to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm always lit up when I'm with you. We've just had
I
such a
love
great
it.
relationship, and we don't even want to tell everybody all of the similarities that are just crazy,
Crazy, crazy.
crazy that
Like,
we're discovering.
well, and here's the best part. Each time, and I have 2 more events with you coming up in June that
Yeah.
I pinch myself when I'm like, I heard just before we got on here that you're going to be at another one. And I'm like, yes, more time with you, the better. But
Yeah.
now I want to introduce you to the people listening right now.
Yeah.
And I always like to dive in with a relaunch story, a relaunch that's happened to you, a transition that has allowed you to transform into the woman you are today, but it left a major impact. And so take us back to what would that look like for you? What's a significant relaunch?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's a couple, and I think we have many in our lives, right? And I had you on my podcast, Success to Significance: Life After Breaking Through Glass Ceilings. We always are breaking through glass ceilings. And so having these relaunches, we tend to have a lot of them. But yeah, there's significant ones, and there's small ones. I think the biggest relaunch, I was 25 some years into my 40-year career in the mortgage lending space. I'm no longer doing that anymore. But I was climbing the corporate ladder, a woman in a man's world for years and years and years, and just doing everything that the men did, which was being a workaholic. And that was the most important thing. And I was pretty successful. I was in the top 1% of all
I love
mortgage.
this. Pretty successful. Top 1%,
Yeah.
everyone. She was very successful. She was nailing it there.
Well, I was pretty successful at the top 1% of loan officers in the country. And at that time, I think there was 850,000 loan officers. So that put me in the top 85,000. So I wasn't going, well, that's not going to knock anything off. But I wasn't, okay, I was in top 1%. I was closing $50 million a year in loans. So if every loan was a million, it was 50 loans. If every loan was 500,000, it was 100 loans, but every loan was not 500,000. So it was a lot of business. But I was dog tired. I was miserable. I was laden with excuses why I was always late for everything, for dinner, for the kids, for my husband, for meetings, just everything. Just trying to survive at 50 million a year. And I just wanted a way that I could do it with less hours. And so my relaunch was the night that I was at dinner with my family. I'll do it in quotes for those not watching, right? I was, sure, I'm at dinner. We're entrepreneurs, right? So when the phone rings, I took the phone call because my
Right.
client needed me. They needed me so much. And
Needed.
so,
It
uh-huh,
couldn't wait. It couldn't wait the 30
no,
minutes.
they need me. Right. And, so out the door I went, and I was walking outside of the restaurant on what I call the concrete balance beam. And we've all been there where we're on the phone or we're walking back and forth on the curb. Sometimes we're walking on the car bumper things. We're on the top one, and then we drop down and walk up to the top one and walk back and forth. And so it's a concrete balance beam. And as I was doing this, people were coming in the restaurant, and I was kind of waiting, like, look at me, I'm important. I'm on a phone call. Oh, hi, moving myself from, when a car wanted to park in the spot that I was doing my my concrete balance beam, and even opening the doors. I was opening the doors for people. I'm talking to my client, and I'm opening the door for a family who had a bunch of kids, and I wasn't getting paid for any of this, right? And so here I am walking back and forth, and I happened to look over into the restaurant, into the window of the restaurant, and I happened to see my family, and they had little spitballs with straws, and they were laughing, and they were, having such a great time, and coloring, and doing all those beautiful things. And my husband was with them, but I wasn't. I was never there. I was watching my life through a looking glass. I mean, literally, not a looking glass, just a glass.
Yeah.
Because it was always, I was never part of it. Never part of it. I was always the outsider. And it was in that moment that I realized I wasn't serving my client, because I'd have to ask questions again. I knew that later I would say, now remind me again, because I wasn't in front of them. I wasn't taking notes. And I wasn't serving myself because I was freaking out that I wasn't with my family. Oh my gosh, I got to get through this phone call, but I have to be polite. And so all this angst was happening there. And then I definitely was not serving my family. Never, ever there. And I said, there's got to be a better way. And that's when I set out to find a better way. So the reason why I said pretty successful. 4 years later, I received I know it's a somewhat long story, but I'll shorten up. I received a box in my office, and it was a flat box with cardboard. And I said, I don't know what it is. Got my scissors out, scrolled along the line, and I opened up this box, and I still get goosies when I think about it. I open up this box, and on the top of it's a plaque. And on the top it says, top 200 loan officers in the United States.
Hmm.
And at that time, we had 785,000. And so I went 1, 2, 3. And being as competitive, I was like 4, 5, 80, 100. Where am I on this list? Where am I on this list? And I get down to the bottom of the list, and there I was, number 178 out of 785,000. I wasn't in the top 1%. I was in the top
Hmm.
0.003%. And I had funded 102 million. And all I wanted to do is fund 50 in 4 days a week. And here I was funding 102 million in 4 days a week. And I was like, I've arrived. I did it.
So
I really,
once you had this moment where you're
yeah,
like you're
yeah,
flipping through, you're looking for your number, where am I? Where am I? And you saw it, did something happen within you that was like, okay, because so
yeah,
many people forget to celebrate. They forget to pop the champagne. They forget that it's like you're on to the next one. Well, now I want to be in the top 50 and now I want to be, how did you take this and realize that, you know what, something's got to give?
yeah. Yeah, as you're asking the question, I'm getting emotional because um, I didn't celebrate right away. It was, wow, I've arrived. I have arrived. I did it. I accomplished it. And for me, that was a lifelong accomplishment from, a life of being called Jenny who ain't got a penny. My father
Oh,
was an alcoholic, and my uncle told me, "You're going to be an alcoholic because that's what happens." My mother was a verbal abuser, and you're going to be a verbal abuser as well because a
mm,
farmer's son is going to be a farmer, and you're going to be poor because they're poor.
mm.
And so I had this life of proving, and I moved and transcended that into, transformed that into a life of living. And that's what I coach on now. That's what I mentor on now, is that you can have your cake and eat it too. And it's not a balancing act. That's why I failed so miserably for so many years, because I tried to balance it. And once I learned that it's not about balance, it's about integration, it's about a path. But in that moment, I didn't need everybody else. I had been seeking approval that never came, right? Oh, great, good job, Jenny. I'm so proud of you. It never came. And so I got it outside. But it was the accumulation, of all those hard times. But honestly, Hillary, I became a workaholic. I didn't become an alcoholic, but I became a workaholic, a
I think
diversion.
it's super interesting. You started out with, a woman in a man's world. And I know myself included, working at Oracle almost 10 years, I
Mhm.
became that workaholic
Yeah.
and always proving, right? Always wanting
Yeah.
my dad's, just, hey, you're doing a good job. Same thing, and my dad, I'll never forget what he would say is girls play with girls, boys play with boys. He was a
Mhm.
orthopedic surgeon. My grandfather was an orthopedic surgeon. And so when my mom had said, hey, I think I want to be a doctor, my grandfather looked at my mom and said, well, you can't do that. That would take up a man's spot. That's not
Yeah.
right. So I understand what you're saying and how it's not work life balance, it's integration. That's such a
Yeah.
strong perspective. But there's a lot of people out there right now that are in the grind. They're trying
Yeah.
to do it all. They've got the kids, they've got, and I used to call it corporate guilt. You're guilty when you're at work, you're guilty when you're home. You don't know where, you don't
Yeah.
have
You're
that,
just,
like, where do I
yeah.
belong? Right.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, how do you, and I know you say this is what you help people do these days, how do you actually get people when they're coming to you and they've got the limiting beliefs like yours, like, we're struggling, we don't have the money, we're all of these things. How do you get started with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, really good question. I have a lot of opposing quotes and things that I do all the time. When you said limiting beliefs, I actually changed that to lifting beliefs, right? And so we don't have any limiting beliefs; we have lifting beliefs.
Mm,
It starts with the thought that, going back to my story, it starts with the thought of the feeling that we have to be on demand rather than in demand.
mm,
And, that we are running around like a chicken with our head cut off, that we're everyone's beck and call person, right? And that's exactly what I was. But then I realized that, on demand is like going to the emergency room. You can find an emergency room anywhere now, an urgent care and a hospital and whatever, and that on demand. In demand, and we're all experiencing it, especially post pandemic, right? We're all experiencing in demand, with our doctors. You can't get in for 6, 7, 8 months, and they're expensive because they're specialists.
Mm-hmm.
And if you elevate your, your market influence to a point where that you can become the expert in your field and what you do, then you can be in demand, and you don't need to have every type of client out there in the world. You can specialize. You've heard the phrases, there's niches and riches and niche to grow rich and all that. But there is a specialization, that expertise that allows for you to solve people's problems, because that's all we do as entrepreneurs. We're problem solvers, right? You have a problem, I solve the problem by helping guide you through it. And so when you become that expert, it changes the dynamic of it, so that you don't have to serve everybody. And so we start with, and you know that we've heard the phrase, don't work in your business, work on your business. And I think that's so limiting, because when you're working in your business, it's all about you, right? You have to make all decisions, do all the work, do everything, do the marketing, do the social media, everything. When you start hiring, you're in the second phase, and that's on your business. And this for me is not an oscillation of, I'm going to go to an event. And so now, I mean, a conference, and now I'm on my business. And then when I'm in my office, I'm in. This is actually a different type of transition. So I help people change that mindset, right? Of getting out of the mechanics. Actually, I have a phrase here that I say, mindset plus mechanics equals momentum, because I was so
Mm.
ingrained in mechanics that I couldn't create momentum. So I had to get the mindset of, wait a minute, I need to grow a team. I can't do this alone. Everybody, Walmart, Tom, can't do it alone.
You
And
can't.
we have that alone mentality as entrepreneurs. And we really we shift from working for someone for a salary for a certain time frame to working for ourselves with nothing and a gazillion hours. I know that's probably not formal.
Well, and I also have to say, when you said generalist, specialist, I think of like the special. We have so much trouble narrowing it down, thinking,
It's
oh
here.
my God, that's scarcity, it's limited. No, it's smart. If you
It's
can say
absolutely
right
smart.
now, what do you want to be known for? And I love that when you first, said you want to be known as, say it again, you want to be known as, what is it?
Are you talking about my
Yeah,
my
when you first come on and you
problems?
say, "Yeah, this is who I want to be." When I come on,
Oh, yeah.
I say I want to own the midlifers
Right,
relaunching into
right.
their remarkable, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's
the
me.
expert in building world-class teams. I mean, that's what I do. I'm known as, and people refer to me as, and people that are attracted to working with me are people that are looking to build a world-class team so they can get their life back.
And that's specializing. You're not trying
Absolutely.
to do all this other stuff. It's narrowing it down, which means you put everything through a filter of that.
Yeah,
And so
everything.
for those
Yeah.
out there, I want everyone to be thinking, what do you want to be known as? What is that piece of it? What if you had a plaque, like you heard, Lady Jen got this plaque. What is it going to say? You are the top 200 in the world and you own this. This is because once you get that, and I love what you said, once you get that and you have that integration, then you stop working on all the stuff that's just like sucking up your time.
Yeah, and I think, if you think of a trough, a deep tranche or a trough, that's where we need to live. And yes, we can do, like, for example, I'm really good with relationship building. I'm really good with sales, but this is what I'm the best at. And we all have to we don't have to let that go, because it's part of your training, your coaching, your product, your services, whatever you're doing. It's part of it, because it will always be, part of it kind of dripping in. But when we're trying to climb out of that tranche, we're going to slip back in, because we don't have the strength on those others to
Mhm.
keep to maintain us, right? And so yeah, that's where that stays. And so when people are working on their business, the on for me is what you're managing is your methods or your systems, right? And so often we're so busy in the in that we have the systems in our head, but we don't have them on paper. And so anytime we try to hire someone, and this is why people oscillate back and forth, anytime that we try to hire someone, we hire them. And I just got back from Mexico, right? Or from Acapulco, and I just had a big long week. It's called LEAP. It's leadership, right? And infusion. And what we tend to do is go, oh my God, they're so fun. I love them. They're so cute. I'm going to bring them on. I'm going to bring them on. And we even say it to them, I like you. I'm going to bring you on. And don't worry, we'll figure out what you can do because I just like you. And that is why we fail so much in entrepreneurship and so many businesses fail is because we don't have our strategy written down. And that's what I focus on that's what I focus on in the on. Does that make sense? That's where my
That
focus lies. In the on
100%.
is creating your systems, the belief that you can let it go, because the law of diminishing return is if you have one client, you're great at everything. But
That's
if
so
you start
true.
having too many clients, the law of diminishing return is that you're going to be the bottleneck in your own company. And yet we're afraid to hire someone. So if I'm not working at 100% and I'm working at 60 now, I'm afraid to hire someone who works at 80 because they're not me. They're not perfect. And people say, but you aren't perfect anymore, right? And
Mhm.
people say all the time, I want a mini me. And I'm like, oh God, no. You don't want
Yeah,
to
seriously. Well, one thing I do want to say is that you talk to obviously great leaders, you coach them. But one thing that and I've watched so much of your work that you really talk about is mentorships and the
be.
need.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your mentors that you've had? Because I feel like again, ours is so similar. Mine had one of my biggest ones is John Assaraf from The Secret. And it's so critical to have these people in your life. So share with us yours.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and let me define mentor too. I mean, let me give you my perspective on mentor. There are, first of all, this is why I don't say coach. Coaches know the game, but they may not have necessarily played the game. They're really good at knowing the game. Mentors have played the game. They know, hey, when you go, so for example, a coach might say, well, I've done a lot of research and I've watched a lot of things and I know how you can climb Mount Everest. A mentor is like, I've climbed Mount Everest 10 times and I know what's good, what's bad. I know what you need to be prepared
And
for,
avoid
everything.
these pitfalls, right? Don't do
Right. And
this
avoid
because
all
I've
this
done it.
stuff. Yeah, because, right. And so that's why I don't use the word coach. I am a mentor. I've walked that walk and I've walked that walk with 4 businesses. I have 4 businesses right now. So I'm out of lending, but when I was in lending, you are an entrepreneur. So I help everybody, with all kinds of businesses. So I also think shifting to mentor, I think there's 2 types of mentors. There's paid mentors, and then there's mentors who are part of a board of advisors.
Hmm.
And I have both, right? I
Hmm.
have both, and I am both to people, right? I'm a paid mentor to some, and some are just, if you called me and said, hey, Jen, I was thinking about this. What do you think? That's mentorship,
Yeah.
right? That's having a board of advisors that you feel confident with. So right now, I have a mentor who's helping me with celebrity, getting more on TV. It's more about the TV situation than anything else. It's not stages because I get on those, but I have someone who's helping with celebrity. I have someone who's coaching my husband and I say coaching loosely, sorry, mentoring my husband and I,
Yeah.
who are, he's just made a transition. He's in a relaunch. And so this person is helping both of us because my husband had a traumatic brain injury. And I said, if you know what I'm doing and you know what he's doing, I think this will be better for us. So
Mm.
he's helping me with that. I have someone else who is helping me share my gifts, right? My stories. I have thousands of stories, and discerning which one should go where and whatever is something that I just need more ears on or more eyes on because we can't see our own ears. And so I have that person helping me there. And then on my board mentors, Jeff Hoffman is one of my mentors. And for those of you that don't know him, he co-founded Priceline and Booking.com. He also is the inventor of the kiosks that we use at all the airports. And He's one of my mentors. And Greg Reed, Dr. Greg Reed, who wrote 3 Feet from Gold with Sharon Lechter, who's a dear friend of mine. Sharon's another
A great
mentor that I
book.
can call on. And she co-wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Outwitting the Devil, and among other things, Exit Rich with another friend of mine, Michelle, who is the top business broker in the world, and you'd never know it from seeing her. So, I love having, and His Excellency Baron Sir Dr. James Dentley is another one. Les Brown, I was so fortunate to be on his speaking faculty. So I went around and spoke with him, and he's just a great mentor to call. Yeah, so I
So
mean,
I
you
have
just
to, I'm going to stop you for a
surround
second.
yourself.
I'm going to stop you for a second because I do want people to hear you have 4 companies, you have all of these mentors that are both your board advisors plus actual mentors. There might be people out there thinking, well, with all of this mentorship, with all of these companies, how do you have any personal time? And there is something that I heard you talk about that really was so profound to me that, again, you don't just have, as you call it, not a coach, but a mentor, you have multiple. And so,
Mhm.
how do you work into your schedule being able to do all of this?
And podcasts and this
And the
that
TV show and
and
be on
I'm
other
a
people's podcasts.
right, and I'm a competitive ballroom Latin and swing dancer, so I'm always at the studio, right? I mean, it's all of these things, and that's where we've been talking about in and on, and this is where the magic happens with my trademark of above and beyond, because it's the leap. It's taking that leap once you have these first two pieces in place where you've got your systems down and you've made that one hire, and you're really, and I help people with hiring process as well. I have a lot of leadership and management experience, which again, I think leadership and management are two different things. So we work on both. But it's this leap of faith, and that's what the Acapulco event was helping people make that transition to the above. Because at above, what you're managing, so on the you people are enabled because you don't have a system. So they always have to come to you and go, hey, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And that's what bogs you down and says, just forget it. I'm going to go back and just do it myself. And this is where scaling and growth never happens. So we develop all of that so that when you hire people and hire them properly, they are now empowered, right? They're empowered so that they don't have to come to you for everything. And so that we do that through 3 things. One is, what's the vision of your company? 2 is, what is the values of your company? And 3 is, what is your voice? The vision is, do you even know your vision? Your vision has to be so big that it includes everybody you're going to hire so that they want to get in the boat with you and take this ride in this journey. The values, we have core values in our personal life, but do we and have we even explored what the core values, the non-negotiables, the principles by which your company is driven by? Do you have those? And if you do, well, for
Driven and hiring by, right? Those
right.
have to be part of that whole process. Absolutely.
Yes, because if you don't have those, number one, get them, but discover them. But the second thing is you have to share with your team, because you can't expect that they know what you're thinking. And that's right. So that's the problem. And then the third is the voice. Are you formal? Are you informal? Do you use lots of emojis? Are you a phone call person? Do you talk fast? Do you talk slow? Do you talk loud? Do you talk soft? Because the magic happens when you can when a client can call and talk to one of your team members, and it's just like talking to you. And that allows you to tether yourself even further away from the minutia and the daily routine, the in and on of your business. You're still a heart, you're still the voice, the talking person, but now you just kind of cameos in your business because everybody knows what to do. And that allows you to go beyond. And your beyond is different than everybody else's. Some of you may your beyond is money driven. Some of you it's time driven. Some of you it's, I want to travel. I want to spend time with my grandkids. I want to sleep in. I want to learn a new language. I want to start another business. And when I went beyond, I knew that, oh, I can start all these fun businesses that I wanted to have anyway. So aside from the things I have to do, like I get to do, like which is being on a podcast, my business runs itself. All of them do. And I'm only brought in, we call it code blue. I'm only brought in with code blue
That
for
is
daily.
so, this is so great. And I think when you nail this, it's like I leave tomorrow to go to Europe with my stepmom and my daughter, who just graduated, Rosie, from college. And I'm taking time off and I am just going. And when you know the business is going to still, it'll probably even be better than when I'm around. They get so much
Yeah,
done when I leave. I love it. And you're
yeah,
right. As long as you have vision, value, and that idea of your voice, if you're really clear, then it's like they have the map to follow. They know which
yeah.
direction.
And you don't need to be there. And this
So,
is why
so
when you walk into Starbucks, by design, and this is voice, right? By design, they say, "What can we get started for you?" When
good.
you go to McDonald's, they say mostly, but what they're really saying is, "Can I take your order?" But see, all of that's by design, and this allows you to leave. And so, can I wrap up my restaurant story here real quick? Because
Yes.
once I figured this out, my husband and I decided to go away for a month. A month.
God,
And
that's
we went to Europe, right? It was our 30th wedding anniversary, our 30th wedding. We've been married for 41 years in a couple of months. And it was our
congratulations.
30th wedding anniversary. And we went away, or maybe 25th. We went away and I was freaking out. I was so scared. But then I realized, wow, because I didn't have another business yet. I was still in the mortgage business. So we went away for a month. We couldn't figure out our phones. We had no choice. And I said, I'm going to come back to nothing. I don't know. But I wasn't worried anymore because I built a really great team. And I remember looking, and I've got a picture of this. I was sitting inside of our boutique hotel, and my husband was standing out on the balcony, and he was leaning off on the balcony and watching people go by. And there was these big, beautiful glass, that they have. And we were in Barcelona, and
Mm.
here I am looking out through this window at my husband. Right now, I'm watching from a different perspective.
Beautiful.
And I started crying and I started saying, "Oh my God, this is," and here I am again getting emotional today. I think I'm tired from my flight,
I
but
just got chills though. I energetically, I'm like, woo, that's so
I think I'm
profound,
just
so powerful.
tired. But I looked out and I said, "You know what? My business is running all by itself and I'm not there." Okay. And in that,
That's power. That's freedom. That is
right, that's it.
smiling from ear to ear.
And
Okay,
that,
I do want to say though, you also not only from a business, not only from your family, you are incredibly philanthropic.
yes.
And your title, Lady Jen, can you share with us how this all works together for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, getting the title of first of all, I was born into royalty. I am a duchess from Bavaria, and and I've always had that title, and I've never used it in business at all. And the reason why I didn't is because I just thought, I didn't. I wanted to achieve uh, my success, my
Mhm.
life of proving. I wanted to do it on my own recognizance, and I didn't want it from a title.
Mhm.
Um, so Sir James calls me Duchess Jen all the time. It's hilarious. But so I got that just from being born. But because I do all this philanthropic work, because I help veterans and I help women, I help people with trafficking. I also am very cognizant about animal abuse, and so I'm working a lot with animal abuse as well. And so I work with all of these. When I was chosen to be part of the I'm a part of the Royal House of Cappadocia. And then I am part of the Royal Order of Constantine the Great in St. Helen, which is the oldest order in the world. We were established in 360 AD. When I was chosen, it was simply an extension of what I was already doing. And so one of the criteria for this is your philanthropic work. The second criteria is what you're doing to impact and get back into the world. And of course, I have a book called Impact. I have a podcast called Success to Significance. So I was already on that
You've
journey.
been doing a lot there. Yes.
It was, and it meant so much more than just be given a title. The way that we all react to, Prince Charles and King this, and the way that we all react to that. But it was birthright, and this is why they do so much philanthropic work, is because they know that they need to show that they're giving back. But I was already doing that. So I'm just, totally excited about it. And I don't know if you want me to say anything about you.
Well, I have to say, I am so excited about what's happening. You did come to me and you said, "Hey, I'd like to nominate you." And it was my kind of what I was doing for entrepreneurship. And that to me, because I've always, like you, I've mentored from, I mean, I literally have been doing this for almost 30 years now, always taking people and going through that mentorship. And so when you came and said it, I was just like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you for like thinking about this, because it wasn't even in my, I didn't know anything about it. And then I'm
Right,
finding out more
right.
and more about what this group does and their support. And I've been on other boards of human trafficking. Three Strands Global is one that I was actually on. And all of a sudden I'm like, wow, there are so many ways to continue to give back, to support, to be, living the life of gratitude. But that
Mhm.
doesn't mean stopping with what's coming in. It means what can you give? And so
Yeah.
I thank you for everything you've done, you've contributed. And I thought, my God, here she is. She's running four companies. She's doing all this great stuff. And she's doing this incredible type of charity work. So
Yeah.
I just have to say,
So
so
you
excited.
didn't say it, since you didn't say it. So I'm gonna announce it now. Just in, right? The alert is yes, I nominated Hillary to be a dame, to be knighted, to be a dame, to be part of our royal order, and she was chosen by the prince to Dame. So in June of this year, as we're recording this, of 2024, which is really just 3 weeks away now,
Mhm.
she is going to be knighted as a dame in the Royal House of Cappadocia and the Royal Order of Constantine the Great and St. Helen. So much is
Wow.
required from her now.
Mm. Well, I am thrilled to be a part
Yeah,
of this group
yeah,
of just incredibly, gosh, what they're doing, everyone. You're like, whoa, that is amazing, the work
yeah.
that
Oh,
they
it
are
makes you
doing.
want to do more. And that's what I love about it is,
Amazing.
it's just everybody is pulling everyone up. There's nobody, having needing to go down and grab. Everybody's just
Yeah.
wanting to go further and,
Yeah.
and improve. So I love it.
Incredible. So
I love
thank you for that. But I also
that.
want to make sure everyone that is listening that wants to find out what you're working on, what's next for you, how they can get into your world, where can they go?
Yeah, just go to jenduplessis.com and connect with me. Watch what we're doing, see what we're up to. That's the best place to go. And of course, I'm on all social media, and I know you'll put the links in the notes. So,
I definitely
that
will.
that's what
So
we're.
let me, as a final question,
Yeah,
entrepreneur, you are thinking about the next steps in the next 12 months
yeah.
of really, how could they make the most impact? What advice would you give them?
Oh gosh, yeah. The most, I would say slow down to speed up instead of speeding up to slow down.
God,
Take a
that is
step.
so that is amazing advice. I feel like right now I'm taking it in, and thank goodness I'm leaving tomorrow, because I'm like, I need this. I needed to hear that, and I'm sure that so many others.
Yeah,
We will have it in the show notes. Thank you
yeah.
for being here. Thank you for being such a
Thank
huge
you. Thank you.
impact in my life. And I'm excited to spend as much time as possible with you. So
Me
thank you
too.
again. And everyone, you're listening to the Relaunch Podcast, and we talk about live now, love now, relaunch now, relaunch into your remarkable. And we give you these incredible people that have so much, so many things that they can do to help you achieve your greatness. Thanks again, everyone. We'll talk to you next week. If you like this video and want to get more like it, head over here.